taker, so we should be good. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. Just gonna give it a couple minutes for people to continue to enter, make their way through Zoom. Right.
Do we have more note keepers or more people? With the now
It's
recently on my calls, sometimes I get more note keepers than
good people.
than people.
Right. We are doing good. Well, awesome. Hopefully everybody is got some good time off last week, got to enjoy a little bit of downtime, and was very nice to have it felt like almost a 4-day weekend. It almost felt like a vacation. So I'm super happy. And we're good. All right. Well, I'm just still got a bunch of people coming in. So give it a minute for everyone in their note taker to join, which is good. Awesome. Well, I'm really glad everyone's here, and excited for this conversation. Um, so this is interesting to me because we have obviously a lot of people who are using different tools to approach the candidate process or candidate journey. And so it's interesting to me how we can think and learn about that. So I will I'll kind of walk us through that. But just a couple opening notes. Yeah, I can click gas. Um, so like I ask every week, if you have an opportunity to turn your camera on, it's awesome. It creates a little bit more of a discussion room feel. If you can't or you're having lunch, I totally get it. I'd love, this is definitely not a one-way discussion. So we want to talk and ask questions or challenge thoughts. So really encourage you to do so. And let's have some fun because I think this is a really interesting conversation. And what's funny about it, whoops, uh, is I almost feel guilty. So we're talking about candidates skills testing, and about a year and 2 years ago, I think it was, my son was looking to apply for a bunch of jobs, and he was very stressed out by the process. And I said, well, this is really easy. Welcome to ChatGPT. Take the job description and take your resume and ask ChatGPT to make it match. And because he didn't know how to write a resume. And what I've realized is that I was contributing to the problem, or what could potentially be the problem of candidate fraud. He didn't, his resume was only about that long anyways, because he just got out of a coding boot camp. So there wasn't a lot to be fraudulent about, but it really helped him write a resume. But it definitely, as I've continued to think about it, and see the rise of that happening, you definitely get to see how this can potentially become an issue. So if there's anybody, by the way, who's joining us via LinkedIn that's not a member of Talk, definitely invite you to join. Talk is a free community for anybody in the TA world. All you have to do is scan this QR code and sign up with your LinkedIn profile. And we would absolutely love to have you be part of this community. So please do so if you want to. Um, this is an idea, and we don't have to talk about it live, but love for you guys to throw your thoughts in chat. I have been considering creating a Ask Me Anything on a monthly basis, and we can come up with topics. For example, I'm going to change my ATS system, or I'm looking for a new ATS or CRM, and we can just get together and talk and share war stories. And it's really an Ask Me Anything environment where we can have a conversation. So if that sounds like something that you think would be positive, just give me a thumbs up or drop a note in the chat. I thought it would be a fun way to increase the connectivity of the community without really as broad of a topic, and just talk about things. And it can be, and the topic could be a broad range of things, or we could come in without a topic and just talk about what the pressing issues are that we're dealing with. So I think it'll be fun, and I'm looking to start this in September once we get done with kind of running around for the summer craziness. So I appreciate everyone. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. As I've mentioned in the past, Talk is a supporter of RecFest. And I see Todd on here, as we can both attest, we've probably all gone to a lot of trade shows. And one of the ones that I found the best is RecFest. It's outdoors, you're in shorts and a t-shirt. It's great collaboration. The networking and community aspect is the strongest of the different ones I've been to. And so if you have an opportunity to potentially go to it, I always highly endorse it because I like it. I thought it was really well done. And I used to work with Jamie, the gentleman who put it together at the Ladders a long time ago, and he's a very clever and smart gentleman. So, and it's a great show. It's actually going on right now in the UK. So if you look at it on LinkedIn, you can see a lot of images and people who are attending, and it's great. So please consider it. With that, I want to introduce Maya, who is somebody I've known for a while and is somebody I invited to this conversation because she has a phenomenal skill set and background around recruiting and specifically in this area. So Maya, I wanted to just give you a minute to introduce yourself to everybody and kind of share a little bit of the journey you've gone through to get to where TaTiO is today. And while we're not here specifically to talk about TaTiO, her background and understanding of this challenge is really strong. So I'm really glad she's here and be able to be part of this discussion.
Bill, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm highly excited. This is engagement on this group. This is the most engaged webinar I've ever been to recently. So that is impressive. And I see some familiar names in the chat. So the people I know, nice to see you and happy that you're here. So I'm Dr. Maya Uber. I'm the CEO and co-founder of TaTiO. I come from recruiting myself. I spent 16 years in the staffing space before building TaTiO. I also hold the PhD. My expertise is the future of work and job analysis. And the real story behind TaTiO is I had an extensive experience working with underprivileged populations. Like we're doing unique staffing projects for integrate minorities back to work. And back then, and through all my years of working in the staffing and recruiter and staffing, I felt the challenge of understand if the person can get the job done in the first interview. And I think this is the question we all have. But back then, there was a big issue because we were dealing with people without a sufficient resume or background or proper work history. And I had the mission to understand where should I place them in a short interview. And I was measured by success like all of us. And I got really frustrated. Back then, I was doing my PhD. I went to the resources I've got. I found great questionnaires, behavioral, psychometry, others. I'm an MBTI certificate. So I took all the tools that I got, brought them in front of the people I've met, and I got really frustrated because they kept telling me they do not know what I want to do. They do not know what their skills are. So I should stop asking them and just provide answers, which I didn't have. So back then I had what probably will be an eureka moment a few years from now in a story. I said, what if we could just let them do the job, right? We will know. We'll put them in scenarios that are relevant. And that's what we did. I had an office. It was governmental offices, that a project that we won, never mind. We took the office and created a simulated day of either call centers and tech people. And we took people to the kitchens and to the office. And we did some very creative things. I had a strong team. And the results were so unbelievable in terms of placement that after 6 years, the project was expanded. And I said, tech should do that. So we want to do this crazy journey. TaTiO is the virtual job simulation platform. I'm not going to speak more about it, but I will say that our mission is to focus on the layer of the ability of the candidates to get the job done, but at the same time to focus on skills that will speak Bill and I today about the importance of skills analysis with a way that is engaging and fun for the candidate. And we all know the market has shifted. So I believe the future is where we combine AI skills, employer branding, and strong value to our candidates, together also with the ability to reach untapped pools for many reasons. Of course, from social impact reasons, but also for business reasons, because we are all struggling for qualified talent. So this is me, and I'm highly passionate about making recruiters and recruiting human, but at the same time effective. And I'm happy to join the conversation today about the ability of candidate to get the job done. Do
Yeah.
they?
Um,
Do they?
well, I'm really again, I'm really interested, and I may look like I'm distracted, but I'm just letting people into the room. So I'm running everything myself today. Norm's not here, so as if it makes me look like I'm looking over here, it's because I have the attendees on this monitor. I have multiple monitors, and so I'm just making sure I'm letting everybody in. Um, so I wanted to do a quick poll before we got started to just talk a little bit about the what we're doing in this area and how we've experienced it. So I'm going to put it up. Hang on one sec. Freelance poll, whack. So it's really simple. I had three questions. The first one is, how confident are you in the candidate ability to do the job? The second one is, have you personally seen generative AI impacting stuff? And the third one is, do you do any organizational, does your organization do any assessing of candidates? And why this is really interesting to me, because in a lot of my hiring in my career, I've hired sales-based people. And what I've learned during that process is that salespeople are exceptionally good at looking qualified. And so I've often hired people um, that I was not sure if they were going to do the job, be able to do the job, right? And that's part of sales, right? I totally get it, and it's part of how we've always approached bringing somebody on board, trialing them out. There's a whole methodology to getting salespeople up and running and effective in their job. But part of the challenge is, can they do it? Because salespeople, and I'm sure this applies to other people as well, but this is my experience, are really good at selling their most intimate product, which is themselves. They're really good at selling
Oh,
themselves.
God.
So that's always been, so for me, how confident have I been in somebody's ability to do the job? I've always been somewhat confident or not sure. So appreciate everyone taking a minute to tackle the poll. I'm going to end it and I'm going to share the results with everybody. All right. So how confident are we that the candidates that we're hiring have the ability to do the job? And again, I think most people are very to somewhat confident, which is great. I mean, that's part of what we're here to do. Um, as we approach that, I'm sure we each have our own methodology to get to that level of confidence, which is kind of the hiring process. So that's awesome. Um, have you personally seen generative AI like ChatGPT make it harder to tell who's genuinely qualified? And this is where we've got about 75, 76% saying yes or somewhat, and about 25% saying no. So about three-quarters of us are feeling some level of impact of generative AI bringing people to the table that are amazing looking, which I can definitely appreciate and understand, and somewhat guilty even expressed to my son that he should go do. So I'm part of the problem, I guess. But it was 18, 24 months ago. So I was just trying to help him because I wanted him to get a job and he was stressed out. And that's what dads do. Like, hey, do this. Great. Um,
But Bill, you know what? It's what everybody does. Everybody wants to look beautiful.
yeah,
So when I'm thinking about, resume as a fraud, this is not an intentional fraud. This is maybe the best thing, the smartest thing to do when you apply, right? When I was doing career consulting, that's what I was advising people years ago. GPT was not there, but we were reading the job description. We were doing some matches with words. So And now it's easier with ChatGPT. But I guess when you're looking for a job and you understand how the mechanism works, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. No, I get
It's
it.
just creates a lot of spam on our side. But
Yeah. And then the third question that I was just thought was interesting is, what is your organization's primary method of assessing candidates? And behavioral and structured interviews are awesome, which I think are great. Skills tests, job simulations, a little bit of trial projects and work, and then about 40% are traditional interviews and resumes. When I hired salespeople, I used to put them through skills tests where I'd have them write, I would have them cold call, and I would have them present and overcome objections in a series of steps because I really wanted to have that confidence that they could do the job because my commitment to the organization was I was going to bring in the right people so we could reach our revenue goals, right? And when I bring in salespeople that turn, my impact on the company is we miss our revenue goals. So I always took that very seriously. So thanks everybody for helping answer that. So I just wanted to stop for a second because I've talked and Maya's talked, but I'm curious from our perspective, from the group here, how how has this been from your perspective, if anyone's open to sharing, has candidate fraud or making sure that we're doing a good job validating the skill set of the candidate impacted your specific world or how you're addressing it?
We haven't. I'm Casey.
Hey, Casey.
Over at Kosher Health. We haven't had any like true fraud, like we hired someone that was not functioning. I think that we see a lot of it now in the inbounds, right? In the applications, and a lot of ATSs are coming up with technology to be able to like flesh some of that out. I know we're using Square Peg and right now because our app volume is so high, and they have something similar to that. But lately we've been seeing applications will have different names on them, but if you actually happen to glance at the resume, all the resumes are exactly the same. So what we started doing is adding like because AI can some of these tools that you can push out like a million applications in an hour will
Yeah,
complete like application questions for them as well. So we added in like a question that you can type in an answer to that was specific to like a geography or something. I don't remember exactly what it is right now. And
yeah,
that's actually helped quite a bit. We saw like a pretty immediate reduction of the amount of like fake application noise.
yeah, that's great. I
but
actually,
Casey,
oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. No,
I
I
was just,
wanted to ask you, Casey. Thank you for sharing. Is so um, fraud is one thing, and we see it more and more. The latest numbers that I saw in the market is 40 to 60% of fraud in a way. Okay, there's different levels of fraud. But what I want to ask you is the other way around. So fraud that easy to detect. The ones that had the geography, multiple names. Um, what about people who you think you're gonna meet someone that like Bill mentioned, salespeople, or I'm not sure exactly what you hire for. People look great on paper, like significant grade on paper, and then when you interview them, they are far far from experienced you want them to be. And how do you know if the person is capable of doing the job? After what do you do to qualify people?
We haven't really run into that exactly, and I think it depends for us on the role. So like
Okay.
we screen differently depending on the role. Like we'll do technical assessments or live designs we lean on more now because of coding tools and stuff like that. We do a lot of case studies as well later on in the interview process to make sure people do definitely know what they're talking about. Um, but we haven't had exactly that situation yet.
Good.
um,
Yeah.
I just wanted I just wanted to share this. This was some work I did. This took me about 10 minutes with Google. And I just asked Google a bunch of questions. Show me the vendors that could help me write my resume, find better. And I was surprised at the number of tools. And again, there was not a lot of work that went into this. So I think it took me longer to build the table in PowerPoint than it did to find the answers. But I think to Casey, to your point, there's a lot of tools out there that are enabling mass applications or everyone being able to make themselves look really amazing when they're applying for jobs, which is always super interesting to me. So I'm curious, and we've talked about this before, but I'm curious in the process, how are you, or have you thought about how when somebody's applying, let's say they are using some type of AI tool, how do you approach that in the hiring process? Does that count against them? Do you set qualifications up front? I'm curious how from your organizations you're approaching that. I mean, obviously in the resume and stuff, you can't tell people not to do that because there's a lot of tools out there. But obviously with communication helpers, assisting in skills demos, all of these things, how do you set the bar on what is applicable or acceptable and not for your organization?
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
I primarily recruit for very high-level technical people. So certainly seeing an increase in AI-generated resumes, whether by, real individuals or by people pretending to be those individuals. And it's unfortunate when, you see a resume that looks too good, you're almost ready to discount them already. And I've definitely had hiring leaders say, this looks too perfect. Like, I don't believe this person. And, with the number of applicants and people one recruiter has to talk to, you can't talk to everyone that you want to talk to. So when you keep seeing these perfect resumes, it gives you cause for pause. I feel like I have to do private investigator work, go to LinkedIn, see if things align. Definitely had a case where I go to LinkedIn and they're an expert at SAP, this or that, but the resume that they gave us aligned beautifully with the job description.
Yeah.
And while the employers would be the same, the dates would be the same, the explanation of the role would be so different that I would definitely lose trust in that applicant.
Yeah, that's a great perspective of the trust of the applicant. And I've experienced that myself where I've put certain metrics or goals in a job description to kind of curate the people who might apply. And then every resume that comes in has those specific metrics called out as what people have achieved in previous employments that they've had. So it always amazes me. So that I could definitely do that.
Sorry. Oh, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Great. So I wanted to ask, I know there's many people here. Anyone here that both of you spoke, and thank you. It seems like you are hiring some tech people and, more professional roles. Any people around here that are higher entry-level positions, some, light industrial, any entry-level position in the market that you hire in volume that you feel the same when it comes to fraud, or not necessarily fraud. I'm speaking about spam as well. The feeling that there's so many irrelevant candidates in your pipeline.
I'll speak for a minute. This is Mike Schuler. I work for a small manufacturing company, about 550 people in the US. And I have to be honest, I haven't, and I'm kind of I've been mostly a solo operator here for most of the time. I've been here 11 years, and I really haven't seen any change at all. I don't know if it's just the population we hire isn't using these tools, but I literally haven't seen any detection from my point of view that AI is being used in resume writing. So I'm kind of a fly on the wall here, but you asked for the industrial piece.
Interesting.
And when we put out resumes, we're not getting, I mean, job applications, we're not getting hundreds of apps. We
Yeah.
might get 10 or 20, unless I put out a business analyst in IT, then I get 100 people from all over the US. And, those resumes have looked identical for 25 years to
Yeah.
me. So, but that's all. I just want to let you know, I haven't seen it. So I'm more worried about how to use AI on our side to recruit versus what the other people are doing. But in any event, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
We handle.
We can speak about it as well later.
And Ken Mwako here. I'm Senior Director of Talent Acquisition at a university. And for our entry-level roles, we've seen people that are using AI to answer the questions. But the way that I've talked to my team about it is if they're just using it to write something that still portrays them in the correct light, that's great. But to somebody that made a comment earlier, if they're putting stuff in there that pertains to the job and is answering it for them, but they're, I don't know, a janitor somewhere that has nothing to do with the job, then yeah, there's a trust issue with that candidate. So we're seeing it from a resume standpoint. I haven't seen or heard of it too much, but we've had also issues with people pretending to be other people. We've had people, the person that interviewed is not the person that showed up. That's in situations like that we've had to work through. So, yeah.
Thank you for
That's what I have to
sharing.
share.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ken, I've had other people say that, but I've fortunate in my career never experienced the wrong person showing up. But that just baffles my mind that somebody could potentially do it. But I've heard from our conversations like this, more and more people share those type of thoughts, which is always blows my mind. I did just to give perspective, and again, this is not anything relevant to any one vendor or just it's more generalized, but I did a little bit of research around what I'm calling the resume challenge. And so what I learned is that 29% of job seekers admit to using AI for skills testing. 26 are using AI percent of the candidates that are out there in general are using AI for mass applying for jobs to apply for, like job leads or somebody like that will just take your resume and find the right jobs and apply on your behalf. And then I found that 28% are using AI to answer interview questions. The other thing I found that was interesting as a call-out is that about 80% of candidates believe that they have to use AI to embellish their application to stand out, to just because they feel like everybody else is. So it's really interesting that that as people are applying for jobs, they feel like they have to dial themselves into perfection, because if they don't, they will not meet the path in the ATS system or whatever particular system they're being looked at. I thought that was really interesting. On the other side of the fence, I did some research and traditional, just around the credibility of resumes in general, right? So what I found, and by the way, I have the sources of data. I'm happy to share it with you guys after the call or send out an email, but about 70% of the folks feel like resumes have some lies in it or 70% of resumes have lies in it to begin with. And whether it's meant to be there or it's an embellishment or it's just misleading, that is interesting. I did see that when talking to candidates, 80% embellish their skill sets in interviews. And the other thing I thought I've experienced, and I'm sure we could all appreciate, is that the application volume from 2021 to 2024 has increased 3x. So if you, Mike, put a job out for your business analyst and got 100 people, now you're getting 300 to 400 people. And I've heard a lot of people talking about that. Jackie, go ahead. I see you raise your hand.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I was just gonna say that I work at a nonprofit, and I think what's interesting and unique to our case in regards to recruitment is a lot of our roles are very niche in our industry. So we utilize like knockout questions or particular questions that we narrow down the amount of applicants that we have, especially if it's something that is specific, whether it's like a program officer for civic engagement, something that is very narrow in our search. And we do also have entry level roles as well, like an executive assistant or operations coordinator, something that's very entry level that will get upwards of almost 2,000 applicants for, because it's so vast that we really try to use those questions right out the gate at the application level to narrow down what our pipeline is going to look like. And then we do a bit of, investigative search on, does the resume we're looking at match what we're seeing on LinkedIn, especially if it's those like larger roles. But I think it's been beneficial for us in our space that a lot of our roles do require specific qualifications that even with I have not seen from my vantage that it's been an issue for us, because when you answer those questions, some of those it'll answer for on your resume and LinkedIn that does this actually track that you have those specific qualifications that we ask for.
That's great. That's good. I think that's as the skill sets get more defined, hopefully that makes it easier to have that type of specificity in the apply process and asking those knockout questions. So, Michelle, I saw you raise your hand. I want to make sure we got a chance to get to you as well. Whoop, or did we lose Michelle? You still here, Michelle? Awesome. By the way, I apologize. I was trying to share the slides with you, and for some reason it keeps shutting off. So I'll try and turn it back on. If it shuts off again, I'll leave it off. But I apologize that I was talking to slides I thought you could see because I was sharing them, and I did not realize it had shut off. But this is a little bit of what I was talking about with the data. These were some of the data challenges I had seen as I was out there looking. And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting is I started doing simple research of, well, how many people are doing skills-based hiring? Because I've always been an advocate of it for sales and customer experience roles. The only way I can validate somebody can do the job. But direct testing, it uses objective assessments to measure abilities. That's key. At 78% of it said HR professionals, so I tried to stay with that. Even though I don't see commonality between HR and TA. That the skills asset improves the quality of hire, it gives you longer retention and higher performance. So I think that's always a very, very clear outcome of testing the skills. And again, specifically for me, I put a job out for a sales or customer experience account management position. I get inundated with resumes. I narrow that down based on the qualifications, but the only way I could ever hire with confidence is to test somebody's objective reasoning, writing, and verbal capacities by simulating different aspects of the role they were going to be in. And so that was always mission critical to me. So direct testing was something I've been doing for 15 plus years. So, so Noel, I saw you had your hand raised. I want to make sure we got to you.
Thanks. I'm sort of going back for a second to the questions that people put in the application. I'm just curious what kinds of questions, because I have knockout questions as well. But particularly for roles like data engineers, I will get flooded. I mean, like 300 applications in a night. And even though I have these questions, and I am fairly certain most of them are coming from Indeed, which I've actually opened a case with Indeed to try and find the source. But I'm just wondering what kind of questions is everybody asking, because mine are not working.
I will say, I'll use the data engineer as an example. A lot of the questions to help weed out that I've recognized is like more of the years of experience. Like we'll ask, how many years of experience do you have in a certain like sector? Like I'll use this example. We recently hired a NetSuite like application support specialist, and it's like, how many years of experience do you have using NetSuite? And it's you like 0 to 2, 3 to 5, what have you, and the 0 to 2 would be that knockout mark, right? So you utilize some of those multiple choice options, and I think that's what, at least for our use case, has been most effective in axing those knockouts. Or if like a certification is required for a particular role, or not more so required but highly ideal, you can ask, oh, do you have this active certification? And your knockout would be no, or it's inactive in terms of the how, if it's current, that certification. So that's what's kind of worked for us. We really, in our intakes with hiring managers, we really try to get them to be super granular on what it is that they would want, like their ideal candidate on paper. And we try to flush out those with questions on the application so that we can really narrow down our pipeline. Because who wants to look at 1,000 resumes? No one wants to do that.
Funny thing is, we actually asked a question where we said, tell us why you're a good fit for this role. And we even said, please, we all like AI, but, tell us in your own words. And we got somewhere it would say, the ChatGPT prompt will say, a better way to say it would be, and then they would put the whole thing in. So they were clearly using AI.
One of the things that we do at Cohere, because to your point, Alice, like I have some roles that I'll post it within 48 hours. I legitimately have over 1,000 applicants. So I will actually reduce the specifications in my job description. So instead of putting, I want 5 years of experience with Tableau, I'll just say Tableau experience required. And then in those questions, I forget the last speaker's name, but to her point, then in those questions in the application, I will put how many years of experience do you have with Tableau? And then I can set the rules up to know how they answer is what I actually am wanting to see. This way, they're not also just saying, well, the job description says 5, so I'm going to put 5 in here, which has also been super helpful.
That is good feedback.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Noelle, did you still have, I saw you raise your hand again. I want to
Oh,
make
no,
sure.
sorry. I'll close it.
Oh, it's okay. One of the things that I had found interesting was when I've been doing roles, especially in the TA and HR space, is I've used a lot of acronyms and not spelled things out. And by doing that, what I've found is people who are applying sometimes with an AI tool, the tool misunderstands the acronyms and answers incorrectly. And it's always been interesting to me because I'm like, how did, and then when I first read it, I don't get it. And then I realize what had happened. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that had always been helpful for me. I like the idea of the drop downs as well, Jackie. I think that's a great idea. Just for a second, Maya, I'm curious from your perspective, because you get to work with a lot of companies. When we think about ways that other people have addressed this challenge, what have you seen effectively in terms of getting again, 500 people who apply in overnight? What are some other ways companies are using to kind of validate the quality of that top of funnel input?
So first of all, I see a lot of people experiencing right now different things, right? There's different new tools out there. Things are running really fast when it comes to AI and automation and qualification side of the market. So a lot of experience and pilots out there of different solutions. what we see, and just to have a short disclaimer, my expertise through the years and also with TaTiO is in the volume hiring space, light industrial, retail, manufacturing, warehousing, sales, customer care. Those are my main area expertise. So no tech people or senior people, more professionals. But I will say on those industries, first of all, if I compare when we started 6 years ago for now assessments are highly common. I think the numbers are speaking about more than 78% of the market is using assessment right now. This was not the case a few years ago. And I think the change right now is moving a bit from behavioral psychometry assessment, more questionnaires-based assessment, to simulation, some scenario-based qualification tools, virtual job assessments or job trials like we do in TaTiO, with the idea of adding the layer of performance rather than just asking people questions. And I think this is the main thing. When we're speaking about AI and opportunities of AI, one aspect of it is analyzing data that we currently have in our system in a smarter way, or to make sure we are, we're avoiding fraud and we are looking at the right people on the resume. But the other side of it, and which what I'm excited about, is having new types of data and performance-based information. So in having people try things, measure their ability to speak, to provide service, to do basic aspect of the jobs. And I think this is where the future is. Where we have real ability, not just ask people about what they can do in their work history, but also to test them live. And I will say that I believe that will be the new type of resumes, because at the end, and I'm not speaking about AI right now in terms of the reflection of automation, rather than the reflection of the workforce and the changes we're going to see. The market, the way people are interacting in the workforce is going to change. And by that, we need other sources of information that is more skill-based and performance-based. And my advice as a practitioner in this space for years is to start enriching your pipeline, also with database that is focused on performance, with actual tested skills, not just with subjective answers to questions, because those will not be sufficient enough. I want to say few years from now, but with the way things moving, maybe a few months. So this is my note about it and where I hope the future will go. And I truly hope, I have 3 young kids. I believe that they were going to be older. They will be laughing at us that resume are something that people use to send by fax, and no one is using it anymore. And there will be new sources of ways to attract and qualify people, because their work history will not necessarily be relevant. Again, for specific jobs, there will be new jobs that will require a new skill set, that the old that will need some transferable skills to analyze. So this is where, when I'm dreaming and thinking about where I want the future to be in terms of AI, this is what I think, and this is my advice to practitioners when and our partners and colleagues when we work with.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely like. It's funny because I have kids who are just in the process of entering the workforce. I don't know about anyone else, but I don't even see my kids using LinkedIn. I think they've just moved past it. It's kind of like they make fun of me for Facebook. They might start making fun of us for LinkedIn as well. On a side note, because it was just mentioned a minute ago of Indeed, they just did a massive layoff today. So Indeed and Glassdoor. So if that's anyone's candidate profile, I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of them out there. But I think it was a couple thousand.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they just laid off a couple thousand people today.
But Bill, I think that's the thing. The market, the advertising market, the way the workforce is collaborating, the candidates and companies, this is as a major shift. And we see more and more companies that dominated the market months ago when it comes to recruiting, marketing, and automation, and other aspects of the recruiting process that are, losing their relevancy. And I think this is something meaningful to learn from, and we need to look at the future. I wonder how it will look like. It's definitely going to be different. It's already different. So,
Well, it's not to get too far off topic, but when I think about sourcing in its in my brain always works in frameworks. I always see pictures, but I've always seen this picture with the recruiter on one side and the candidate on the other, and multiple swim lanes for them to connect. And a lot of those swim lanes have always been traditional tools that we've used. Oh, thanks, Jim, for throwing that up there. 6% of the global workforce. But LinkedIn and Indeed, ZipRecruiter have always been the traditional tools that people have connected with. As we now have 5 generations in the workforce, the mix of ways people connect with information has changed so dramatically. And so I often think that we have employers are potentially still using the similar swim lanes where the candidates that we're trying to connect to are no longer there. So, when you think about TikTok, when you think about Instagram, they were, I think in the sourcing model, they used to be nice to haves. And again, this comes back to, there's a lot of unique aspects to the candidate you're trying to hire, but in a lot of cases, I often think that they are no longer nice to haves, and they're part of the need to have model to effectively source the people you're wanting to connect with so they can learn about your company and that there is an opportunity there.
Bill, that one of the things that we're trying to do, and I think should be the future, is invite people to try out jobs.
Yeah.
Instead of just apply, and the ability of have this job tryout or inside of a job, the value that the candidates get. And you're speaking about parallel path. That's created transparency and objectiveness and a different communication between you and the candidates. When you invite them for the first step, the first thing they do, you invite them to try out a job and to think about it in their daily life, not just watching a video. Watching a video is nice, but we are moving forward from videos right now. And I think this is an opportunity we're going to see more and more in the future. I see it already, but it's going to grow.
Yeah.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, Bill, about young job seekers maybe doing things differently than people who've been in the industry for a while. And again, this is probably a topic for another day, but I'm very keen on what technology is building to create better sourcing to bring to us. I could almost see 5 years from now, recruiters aren't even sourcing. We're just using technology companies who do it for us. And we're really just selling the engagement of why you should work here. Like, who knows? But programmatic job advertising, from what I've dabbled in there, like that's more about getting in front of people and getting them to learn about your role, not necessarily applying it first, but eventually whittling it down. But that's what I'd rather have people like that technology feed me the people I need rather than me have to go figure it out, because it changes so fast. And I don't know where these people are always looking,
No, 100%.
Anyway, 2 cents.
I think what we're going to find, Mike, is that the online presence or the profile of people is being established through multiple vehicles, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. I think what we're going to see, and this is my opinion, I don't know this to be fact, but I think we're going to see that there are going to be AI-driven, generative or agentic AI-driven tools that are going to go out and be able to look at all these sources at a speed that we can't and find appropriate applicants for the role and bring them back to us.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And we've got these sourcing tools that are already doing it, but I think it's only going to accelerate. So I come from a recruitment marketing background, and the joke we used to always make is, hey, programmatic advertising, if you're tired of wasting your money on one job board, use programmatic and you can blow it on a lot all at once. And so the joke in that, though, was a lot of these vehicles that they're using are not getting the traffic. Well, they have great brand, they have great marketing. They're not getting the candidate traffic that they used to. And so while your budget is increasing, and I'm sure we can all appreciate this with Indeed, spend more and get less, or spend more and get less quality. You may get more applicants, but the quality factor isn't always there. And so to solve that, I think this is where agentic AI is going to come in, is you can just type in, I need to hire a data engineer with background in, you know, green energy. And the agentic agent is going to make the decisions and the intelligence to go find you a short list of people. And then it's going to be your role to bring them into the top of funnel and move them through the process. I believe that's where we're heading.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Um, so, and for anybody who loves programmatic, that was just a joke we used to make. I'm sure there's wonderful use cases of it being incredibly effective. I just always, it always used to crack me up. But I had one question that I wanted to ask, and so we've talked about assessments and can we do the job, but I'm really curious. There's a myriad of skills tests, assessments that are out there that, we have cognitive ability, personal assessment, behavioral systems, situational judgments, emotional intelligence. Just a quick question. When you look at the tools, or when you think about the tools you're using, how effective have they been? And I'll give you an example. For sales, cognitive behavior was one that I had started through my employer using. And quite frankly, while it was interesting, it wasn't a go, no go decision maker for me, as well as just having them practice the skill sets with people on my team to see if they were good at it or not. So I'm really curious, what are some of the different tools that folks you're using, more on the functional side rather than the vendor name, that you found effective? And I asked that question because some of them obviously don't always tell you, can they do the job? It's more of a what their personality or their soft skill fit might be within the company, which is why I love to ask it. It always fascinates me in the different tools that are out there. All right, with 9 minutes left, we're going to get shy. Okay.
Bill, this is Reese
Hey,
at
Reese.
Multivac. Hi. Yeah, great plug for RecFest, by the way. That's an awesome event.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had pretty good luck. I mean, assessments are always a mixed bag, but we've had pretty good luck switching away from one that was exclusively personality based to one that's more of a combination. We have the ability to customize a little bit per requisition. And we can break it down. I like that it's moduled. So for example, there's a like emotional intelligence one that is like 5 or 10 minutes, and people are kind of, they're like pictures are kind of flowing and you're making guesses and whatnot. And of course, all of it you have to take a little bit with a grain of salt, but we have found the combination of the personality plus the hard skills and being able to add in a little bit of that emotional or specific other things helpful. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I have found the emotional aspect and the stress capabilities for sales to always been really fascinating for me in terms of how people answer those questions to, you know, help me understand what they're going to be like at the end of the quarter or the end of the year, because
Mhm.
those are typically some pockets of pre-built stress windows where commission-based people are feeling pressure because we're coming to the end of whatever that measurement period is, and
Mhm.
they're either ahead or they're behind it. And I always like to, it doesn't mean I'm not going to hire you, but it allows me as a person to understand how to manage, and knowing that somebody may need more attention or more support because they may or may not react positively, or need guidance because it's a new experience for them. Like first time home buying, it drove me nuts. I was insane. The third house I bought, I could care less because I'd experienced it. But
Right.
supporting, nobody helped me through that. I was like, what the hell's escrow? It was not always easy. So those tools have helped me quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Just to add on to that, at least with the testing that we've been using most recently, there's a ton of value in looking at all of the characteristics together. So that's something that I talk a lot with hiring managers about. So if I'm looking at someone's like stress or however you want to label that score, in combination with how introverted, extroverted they are, in combination with how achievement oriented they are, I'm able to draw a lot of conclusions, not really by looking at one factor, but looking at them all together. And that variance does help.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we've got a couple minutes left, and I wanted to just let you know, and Maya is somebody that I've over the course of time learned a lot from. And if any of you are interested in just talking to her more about the assessment area, she's offered to allow us to book some time on her calendar. The QR code or that link will bring you right to her Calendly. I believe it's Calendly or HubSpot, but ability to book some time. So I was really excited. So Maya, I just wanted to give you a couple minutes to share that and and then we can wrap things up because I appreciate everyone's time and I always like to end on time.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to join here. I'm highly impressed with the level of conversation and the way you share insight with each other. I think if I was a recruiter now, this is the community I want to be part of. So this is very impressive. And yeah, I have some expertise in that space also with my PhD in what we do, and I will have to have some conversation about it to share more. Thank you, Bill. Thank you all for joining us today. It was fun.
Yeah. And I really, it's a fascinating area for me as we continue to look at generative and agentic AI. The skill set, yeah, Maya did nail the talk plug. Good job, Maya. But I do think that we're going to find that things are going to change radically in terms of how we source and how we hire. I can remember a very long time ago, to date myself, I felt very progressive putting a job on monster.com and Career Builder at the same time. And they're gone now. So they just got sold in bankruptcy. Their assets just got consumed. So it's blows my mind how fast and how different the market can become. I think assessing people's skills is going to become more and more the dominant way we're going to evaluate applicants as we bring them through the hiring journey to become part of the company. So it's a great conversation. And Maya, I really appreciate you sharing time with us and being part of this conversation. So if anybody has any additional questions, I'd love to keep the conversation going. We can talk about it in the talk community. And thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you being part of this conversation. And I'll be sharing the stuff online with everybody. And thank you very much. Thanks.